Kamala Harris has had a cringe fest of a week on the talk show and podcast circuit. The presidential nominee has finally emerged from hiding and this week spoke to the Call Her Daddy podcast and television shows The View, Stephen Colbert and 60 Minutes. Kamala Harris was blasted for these largely lighthearted and fluffy appearances, with commentators suggesting it's tone deaf in the wake of monster Hurricane Milton approaching Florida, forcing millions to flee their homes. Sky News All-Stars Rita, Panahi and Megyn take a look at Kamala Harris's most bizarre recent media appearances and the fallout in the wake of Hurricane Milton. As the presidential campaign reaches its final weeks, Kamala Harris's team is wheeling her out across the media for softball interviews and appearances. But many commentators are questioning this strategy in the wake of Hurricane Milton, which has forced millions to desperately flee from their homes, claiming lives and livelihoods. Kamala Harris appeared on Stephen Colbert's talk show where she bizarrely took a swig of beer.
One of the old saws is, they just want somebody they can have a beer with. So would you like to have a beer with me so I can tell people what that's like? Okay. Now, we asked ahead of time because I can't just be giving a drink to the Vice President of the United States without asking. You asked for Miller High Life. You wrote Miller High Life. I'm just curious.
Okay, the last time I had beer was at a baseball game with Doug.
So cheers.
Cheers.
There you go. Ooh. That tastes like the beautiful city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Champagne and beers.
There you go.
This commentator blasted the tokenistic performance, saying she did this for one reason, to pander to the white men in the Midwest, with whom she's underwater with big time. You can see right through it. In the same interview, Kamala Harris debuted a new cringe accent.
Have you no empathy, man? You know, for the suffering of other people, have you no sense of purpose?
With this commentator saying, Kamala Harris unveils a new Jamaican accent as she discusses the importance of empathy. And Kamala Harris also appeared on The View for another cringeworthy interview, revealed Sky News All-Star Rita Panahi.
Coming in at number 6 was the introduction by Whoopi. Get your buckets ready, she laid it on thick.
Please welcome back the next president of the United States.
Oh my God, so exciting.
But even CNN couldn't ignore Harris's latest gaffe, blasting her recent appearance on The View.
Done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years.
There is not a thing that comes to mind.
Molly, what do you make of that?
I'm surprised, frankly, that she doesn't have more to say about this, given that she and her campaign know that this is one of the main questions that voters have about her. And one of the main things she's been trying to establish as part of her candidacy is the idea that she would represent a break from the past 4 years, and to not be able to come up with something to say in that moment. She continues to not be particularly nimble on her feet in a lot of these interviews, and this is a very obvious question that gave her an opportunity, frankly, to differentiate herself in a way that would have made news, that would have answered, I think, the curiosity of a lot of voters who want to know how she would lead differently. And she's not very specific in laying that out, and she can't point to a decision she would have made differently, which, you know, in an electorate that thinks that doesn't like the way this administration has led and that doesn't like the track that the country is on, that may not be a very satisfactory answer.
Donald Trump also blasted this claim, saying, Lion Kamala, who is being exposed as a dummy every time she does a show, just stated to the degenerates on The View that she would have done nothing different than crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States. Kamala Harris's incompetence was again exposed this week when CBS's 60 Minutes edited Kamala Harris's word salad to appear polished.
Reminder, you don't hate the leftist media enough. You think you do, but then they go and pull something like this. Here is ABC deliberately and deceptively editing a clip that turns Kamala Harris from weak and incoherent to strong and decisive. Watch the original clip that they posted that was widely mocked, followed by the version that went to air on Monday night. See if you can spot the not-so-subtle difference.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
That second part wasn't even in the first answer. Where did they find that? Goodness me.
And in what is possibly the softest of all interviews Kamala Harris has done, the VP appeared on the Gen Z-focused Call Her Daddy podcast, which was mercilessly mocked by Sky News host Rita Panahi.
Chat, mercifully, it wasn't as graphic as what we just played you. In fact, the whole thing seemed to be about, I don't know, the patriarchy and sessions about abortion.
I want to take a moment, and can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision.
I know what you're going to ask.
About a man's body. Let's
No.
Is there any law?
No. It's no.
Yeah, except the millions of men who've been drafted into war, forced to put their body on the line for their country. Did they forget about that?
Commentators blasted the timing of this interview, with the New York Post saying Kamala Harris says X-rated Call Her Daddy pod talks about things that people really care about as Hurricane Helene affects rage on. And when Kamala Harris finally did get around to discussing the hurricane, she made it political, says Sky News All-Star Megyn Kelly.
She decides to pick a fight with Ron DeSantis because she thinks it makes her look good to fight with a prominent Republican, even though the man right now truly is trying to save lives. I don't remember the last time a Cat 5 hurricane was barreling toward the Gulf Coast of Florida. Those things are monsters. They're talking about storm surge like we've never seen that may have cities as large as Tampa, Florida, underwater. The mayor of Tampa, and there are some dozen towns around it, said today, if you stay, you will die. Ron DeSantis is the governor of that state. He has truly a lot to deal with. They're still recovering from Hurricane Helene, which devastated the same area 2 weeks ago. And she decides to get political with him and to pick a fight with him. Why? Because she's probably still ticked off about his abortion law and his ill-named, according to the Dems, Don't Say Gay bill, which was not anything of the kind. So she thinks he's going to be fun to fight with, without any appreciation for the distraction she's now causing for a man who truly has people's lives in his hands.
And while Kamala Harris is doing the talk show circuit and picking fights with the governor, Donald Trump is giving free hotel rooms in his Miami hotel to frontline workers battling the disaster. This commentator applauded Trump, saying President Trump is giving free rooms at Trump Doral Hotel to the linemen getting ready to help the people of Florida during the hurricane. Truly the people's president.